Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Hayley Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies. Welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous and one and only Hayley Forbes, who is the CEO of the Femme, and a massive inspiration to myself, has been for many years. And we are going to be diving into how to become in demand, focusing on mindset, energy, and strategy. Hayley, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
I am excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
So I'm really, really excited to dive into this topic. And I know that we sort of touched base very briefly before clicking record and jumping into this. But before we dive into how to become in demand or be in demand, whether we're looking at your branding, your offers, and the strategy side of things, can you just give our audience a little bit of a introduction to yourself, your story and your journey?
Yeah, so I am from Scotland, if you can't tell by the accent. I have pink hair. I am a mum to four kids who I home educate, and I have built multiple seven-figure businesses now. And I used to be in the TV and film industry. I used to be a makeup artist, and I changed careers, took a kind of hiatus with the six of us went traveling around Europe. We gave up our home, we put everything into storage or gave it away. And with very little savings, we took a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a brand new baby traveling around Europe. We came back, COVID hit, and that is when I started to really get into the coaching world, And then as soon as I entered it, it just naturally went into business because I think I've had a real job for 3 months of my life, as in like working, someone else was like the boss, other than when I was like a kid. So yeah, I was never one to work in corporate. So I started my own business, and then all of my clients were like, cool, but teach me how to start my business as well, Hayley. How do I grow my business? How do I do social media? And that's kind of where everything was birthed from: the mentoring, the coaching academy, the books, all the things that you see today.
Yeah, amazing. Such a great journey as well. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your background and your story. Now, I know, and so many of our listeners will already know you or recognize your name, but I know you've built the most incredible, globally recognizable brand. What would you say, before we dive into the in-demand side of things, what would you say have been the biggest mindset shifts that you have had to make in order to step up to your level of success and where you are now?
Yeah, at every level, it's just been deciding, like making a decision. And it's really funny because one of my clients recently had this huge shift where she jumped from like 10K months to 40K months. And she was like, Hayley, it finally hit. Because everybody was like, what did you do differently? And she's like, I literally decided. She says, Hayley's been telling us this for like so long. She's like, and logically I could hear it, right? It sounds ridiculous, like just decide. But what I find is everybody decides what they want, but not that they're the one to actually go get it. And when you decide that you're the one to actually go get it, that you are deserving of it and that you can have it right now, you just see it manifest in your life. And I have seen that before every single quantum leap that I have had in my business and my life, has came after that decision. And at every level, you think you decide and you think you've went to the max, and then you realize, oh, I'm actually stuck coasting again, or things have got a little bit stagnant again. And then that's when you actually look at it, you realize you've been going back to, it's like we all know, right? The growth comes from the growth zone, not the comfort zone. But
Yeah.
we make our new zone our new comfort zone. So then it's catching that and deciding to, okay, what's my next move? What am I going to decide to do next? And deciding that on your body first before you implement anything externally.
Mm. So really leaning into, like you said, believing and knowing and trusting yourself that this making that decision, like you said, deciding that you're going to get there. You're able to do this, and you're able to do this now.
100%. And that's what I'll often ask my clients, like, if you could only leave one message with the world, what would that be? And for me, it is that you can create, anybody can create any life on their terms. Like, yes, we all start from different vantage points, from different privileges, but there are people worse than you doing better than you. And there are people who are currently better off who are actually doing worse than you. So it's, yes, we'll all have different hurdles, but I just, like, if I could only leave one message, it would be that anything that you want, go decide that you get to have it, and then back it up with action. And it's just that on repeat, like every single day, like actively pushing past old patterns, old programs, old limiting beliefs, deciding that it gets to happen, taking action, leaning back and trusting. And it sounds like the easiest concept in the world, but it's the hardest thing ever when we're fighting against that subconscious programming, right? And I know that you'll know that as well. It's like it just wants to take us back to where we were. And I always say, like, that's the work. It's not the strategies, it's not the how to, like, we can learn all that, we can teach all that, but it's not actually that. The work is, and every single day, waking up and deciding what you're available for and what you're not, and going after what you actually want.
And I think it's fascinating, and I completely agree with you. And I think potentially there might be some listeners listening to this podcast episode as well saying, I love what you're saying, but I can't see how I can get there, you know, and a lot of comparisonitis comes in as well in the online space, I think, for many people at certain times of their journey. Have you got any advice from that, from the perspective of, you know, if people are feeling a little bit stuck and they just can't see themselves getting to whatever income level they're wanting to get to?
Yeah, I would stack proof that you've got that you know that it can happen. So what I mean by that is our brain wants to protect us, right? We've got a like 2 million-year old brain. It's still stuck in caveman times, and it wants to do everything to protect us. So what it does is it starts to stack up proof for all the ways it can go wrong. So it's like, I'm not, and also our core limiting belief as humans is I am not enough. Because if we weren't enough for our parents back in caveman time, we would have been left to die. So I'm not enough literally means death. So when people are stuck in like comparing themselves or imposter syndrome, you can't just mindset your way out of that, because your mind, your subconscious mind is literally like, but I could die, right? And that's not logical, but that is what happens. Now, what our mind is doing is our mind is actively stacking up all the proof that we've got throughout our life that tells us we're not good enough. So it goes back to that time that we asked someone to be our friend and they said no, to when we spoke up in school and got told that we were wrong or we were too much. So we've got all this proof stacked up against us. What you have to do, now you can do deeper energetic inner work, and I'm always a fan of that, and I teach that in a lot of my spaces. But what the listeners can go do right now is actively look at and stack up proof for the opposite. Like if you, when people are saying maybe like, but nobody wants to buy from me, or I'm not good enough, or people won't pay me, or I'm not good with money, or whatever it is that they're saying, could they argue in court for the opposite if they had to? If their life was on the line, could they go and find evidence? So, for example, if they feel like they're not enough, or they always get passed over, or nobody ever comes to them, is there truth that someone actually has come to them before? Someone actually has asked them for advice. If someone's saying, I'm always bad for money, bad with money, are you always? Or is there any area in your life where actually maybe you're good with it there? And what we can do is we can be like little detectives and go actively searching for all the ways that's the proof on the opposite side. And this is going to take work because our pattern and program is to go back to the negative. So we need to fight against this. But when you do, and you just start to get curious around, is there another angle to this? So what if this could work? What if this could be me? For those of you who maybe don't know my story, like I grew up in like borderline poverty. The people I grew up with tend to either not be here, or they're in prison, or they're still staying in the same places that they were when we grew up. This life wasn't promised to me. It wasn't expected from me either. But it's been understanding that no one is better than you, and you aren't better than anybody else. We're just all humans. And if someone else can do it, then you can do it as well. Like something I'll often say with my clients, like when it comes to collapsing time with m money, right? Because that's like a phrase we throw about. And they're like, but Hayley, how can I collapse time with money? I don't get that. And I'm like, well, have you ever made money? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, cool. Have you ever done something faster than you used to? So, for example, when you learn to drive a car, were you really slow and really scared? And now do you just get in your car and drive? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, so you've got proof you can make money and you can collapse time. So we're
Yeah.
just sticking these things together.
It's just, again, it's like a perspective shift to an extent, isn't it? And just really seeing it from that different side. I love that example as well in terms of driving as well, and just really thinking about, okay, how can you do that? Our mindsets do play a massive, massive part in our success. And we know this, and I know you've given some great insights there. So I really want to dive into this concept about being in demand. I know that you are in demand, absolutely. And so many of our listeners are probably listening to this thinking, oh my goodness, I'd love to be like Hayley. I'd love to be able to have, payment notifications pinging when I drop the link and that, everything like that. So first of all, should we just dive into what do we mean? What do we mean by being in demand?
So, what I mean by being in demand is you, rather than you trying to manifest your clients are manifesting you. Like your clients are actually already looking to pay for the thing that you've got. So you don't need to convince them. They already want it and they're already actively looking. And then when they land on your page, or when they ask about if anybody can help them, it's your name that gets put to them. So if you think about like any well-known brand, right? And it doesn't have to be luxury. We've got things from McDonald's, Coca-Cola, all the way to like Chanel, Louis Vuitton. It doesn't matter what it is. These brands are known because they're in demand.
Yeah.
Because people know who they are. And then as soon as someone has that feeling of desire for getting the thing that it provides, they're the ones that they go to. So by being an in-demand brand, it's that you are seen as the one in the industry and there's no convincing people to work with you. People already know. So as soon as you drop an offer, people buy because it's not trying to convince them to work with you. It's you actually becoming the one to work with first, you becoming the in-demand brand so that as soon as they're looking for that solution, you're the one that they hire.
And I know that you help and support so many of your clients with this whole concept of, creating that demand for them. And I love that, it's about your positioning, your authority and who you are as an individual as well. What would you say are the top things that our listeners can focus on to really support themselves with being seen as that one?
Yeah, the biggest shift I would say is stop waiting to be chosen. Like
Mm.
so many people are like, when is it going to be my turn? I used to say that. I used to, well, not that, a phrase I used to always say, because I'd have people find me and then start working with me and be like, I wish I'd found you before. Why didn't I hire you before? I've spent all this money on all these other coaches and they've not given me like a tenth of what you do. And what I started to feel and what I started to say and repeat to myself was, I'm so tired of being the biggest kept secret. Like I'm like the biggest kept secret of the industry, and my clients would like fulfill that. Like they'd say that back, like, "Yeah, Haley, that's so true. Like, how did I not know who you were?" And I was like, "I know, it's so frustrating, right? Because you're like, I know my work is gold. I know I can help so many people, but why do I feel like people aren't finding me as much as these kind of like celeb coaches?" And then I realized it's because I was allowing myself to be the best kept secret. Like
Mm.
I was, and then I was filling that with that language, with that affirmation, rather than deciding I'm no longer available for that. Like I'm no longer available for that. I am waiting to be chosen. I am deciding to move first for myself, knowing there are people that are waiting to hire me. I just have to see me first. I have to own me first. And when you bring that to the table and when you make that shift, your energy shifts in a way that is felt throughout every piece of content, every graphic, every conversation. It goes from like this, even we can feel in our body language, right? Like when we're speaking, it's kind of like, oh, like I am, hi, this is me. I'm this kind of person. I kind of help this, but whereas it's like, yes, this is who I am. This is what I do. And it just completely like shifts the energy in our body. And of course, that comes out to everything that we do. So when we decide that we're no longer available for waiting, that we're choosing us first rather than choosing to give our power away and hope that someone will see us or not. That's when, of course, there's messaging shifts, of course, there's strategy shifts, and I help my clients with all that. But until you, again, coming back to that decision, until you make that decision, you're going to see the same thing play out, which is people coming into your DMs but hiring someone else. Someone being activated by you but not activated by the people that are like, you're my vision board, I'll hire you one day. Like, oh, I'm just going to buy this low cost thing and I'll hire you later. And then later never comes because someone else comes along that is owning that energy of them being the one to hire.
So would you say then that their energy, energy, should I say, sorry, because we know that plays a massive part. Would you say that that is one of the main things that separates those that struggle to get noticed, struggle to make those in-demand sales as such, in comparison to those who are effortlessly selling daily on repeat?
Yeah, I think it's funny because it's both,
Mm.
right? It's like strategy without energy is just noise. It's just you're saying things and it's not landing, but energy without strategy is chaos. It's energy and it's activation, but it's not focused anywhere. It's not filtered anywhere. So 100% it's the energy and it's they've made a decision, but then also they're learning the strategies that then like those two things need to go together. You can strategize your way to 100K months. And I know lots of people do, and they usually come and hire me because they're like, Hayley, I'm miserable. I'm ready for giving up my business. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so unhappy. Like, I've just had a baby. I can't do this. I often get mums because they weren't mums when they built their business. They built their business through hustle, through grind, and then they become parents and they're like, right, you do this with 4 kids who you home educate. So let me come and be in your world. And so you can strategize your way there, but you'll be unfulfilled and you'll be unhappy. Or what you'll find is your strategies aren't aggressive enough, that you're doing all the right things, you're investing in all the spaces, you're doing all the things that your coach tells you to do, and the coach isn't wrong and neither are you, but it's just not landing. And you maybe see like your peers in the industry getting results and you're like, I'm doing the same things. Where's my results? When is it going to be my time? And it's because the energy is not there. But also, if the energy is there and there's no strategy, what ends up happening is like that starving artist syndrome, but it's like, why does no one see me? Like I'm so like I bring this to the table and it's so powerful and I'm channeling this and I'm here to like activate the world, and it's just like resentment starts to come in and it's like, well, that's because you know what you bring to the table is gold, you're a match for it, but you're not actually funneling people to come and buy from you. So I think it's like, yes, it is energy, but it is strategy as well. And I don't think you can separate those two things.
And how can you get a really good balance of this? I mean, ultimately, you need to be doing work on both, right? But
Mhm.
how can you get that equal balance to the sense where you're working on your strategy, you know that your messaging's key and your content strategies, lead generation, all of those pieces, but then also you've got that equal balance of energy. Is there any advice you could give around that?
Yeah, it's constantly pivoting and constantly upgrading. Like I always say, you want to heal and grow together, right? Because a lot of people realize that they've got this energetic block and they're like, oh, I can't actually show up and be the one online because I've got this trauma that's connected to my dad and it's this past life thing. And they think they need to go heal that first. I'm like, no, you can just make a ton of money just now, as well as heal. Like it doesn't have to be like one or the other. You get to do both. And what I know from like my own results, but also my clients, it's constantly leaning into both. So it's putting yourself in a place that is at the right level for you. And I am not going to sit here and say like invest in just somewhere that expands you because I freaking hate that. I have said no more than yes to people for my high level mastermind because they're not at that right level yet. And I think there's so many coaches doing the industry a disservice by just letting anybody into their high level spaces. So when I say the right level, it's not always the highest level you can invest in. It's a level that's going to give you the right growth for where you are right now. Now, you can then also work on your mindset and energy separately yourself. You can hire someone else, or you can hire a coach that is able to hold it all, that can teach you the strategy, the mindset, and the energy. And then it's going to be a case of you will learn a strategy and energy for one level, and then you're going to have to upgrade. And then you're going to learn that and it's going to feel nice. And you're like, yes, I've done it. Like I've navigated this. I'm finally getting like 10K consistent months. And then you realize that to jump to 30K, there's a next up level. And you're like,
Massive shift, yes.
and you're back in the trenches again. And you're having to like shift your strategies and you have to like step into a new identity. And then you nail that and you master it. And then it's like, okay, now it's like 50K months. Now it's 100K months. And at every single level, it's like if you go to the gym and you want to lift the heavy weights, you first have to learn to lift the lighter weights. Now you learn that by doing the repetitions, putting in the work, and then it gets easy, and then you pick up the next weight and you're like, oh, and then you have to struggle in front of people again. And a lot of people aren't humble enough to do that because it's like in the gym, you're like, well, I could flex my muscles in the mirror when it was a weight I could easily lift, but now it's heavy, I'm struggling, and what are people going to think? And I'm not holding the right like stance. And you have to be willing to be the learner again. You have to be willing to be humble enough to go backwards and be like, I don't know this level yet because I've not experienced it. Lean into someone that has, work through that. And so many people get it wrong here because they try to jump. They're struggling to hold their current level. They're working with unaligned clients, or they're not signing as many clients as they want. They're getting payment defaults. Every time they get a payment default, they're going into a mindset frenzy. And they're like, why am I not jumping from like 20K to 50K? And I'm like, because you can't hold 20K yet.
Yeah.
Like, stop trying to jump. You will quantum leap when you stop trying to quantum leap. When you come and actually clean up everything on this current level, because then your subconscious is like, ah, this feels easy. And that's when the next level will just come in. Whereas so many people, because of social media, right? It's like, I want to get to the next level. The higher 100K months have become the new 10K months, which is insane.
Insane.
Like, it's just the pressure that people put on themselves to hurry up and get there. And every time you try to hurry, you actually slow yourself down.
I completely agree. And I think it's, again, it's so interesting that you say that the 100K months have started to be seen as the new 10K months. And it's absolutely a scene. And I think, again, for all of us that are on our journeys and all got to where we are now, we've gone through those different stages, and every single stage, like you said, it's, you learn. There's different lessons, there's different aspects of growth that we have to bear in mind. We have to consider. We have to develop our knowledge, our understanding, our skill set, and mindset of that as well. So this is fascinating. I mean, what would you say then are some of the biggest mistakes that you have seen female entrepreneurs make in the online space when they're trying to get to their next level?
Yeah, I think the biggest one would be trying to be like everybody else or comparing themselves rather than looking at what are you an authority in? Like, what are you an authority? Like, don't try. I done it. I ran my business in the first year and I went from zero to multi six figures in the first year. So it was successful, but I was burning out because I tried to run it like everybody who didn't have kids. And that was just like, it was ridiculous. And I was kind of like, not hiding that part of me, but not owning that part because I was like, well, I need to go on these fancy holidays and I need to travel here and there because that's what everyone who's successful is doing. And actually, if I was just like, here's how I have gone from zero savings in the bank, borrowing my mum's credit card to even invest in my first coaching course, with like four kids hanging off me every single minute of the day, living in loungewear, hanging in my house in Scotland to multi six figures in the first year. I probably would have attracted a lot more in that first year because people would have been like, okay, I can get her. Like
Yeah.
she's someone who like she actually understands what I'm going through right now. However, I was like, let's do the fancy photo shoots and I love fancy photo shoots, but those photo shoots weren't me. They were my mum seen them and she was like, Hayley, you look like Mary Poppins. Like, what is it's all very like prim and proper, which is amazing, but it's not me, right? I love luxury, I love glam, but well, I've got a disco ball, I've got neon pink lights, like I've got a black office, like that is me as well. And I think the biggest mistake, coming back to the mistakes, is people just thinking that they need to be someone else or a different version of them to make money. And what you're coming back to your subconscious mind again, your subconscious mind will do anything it can to self-fulfill the identity that you've got.
Mm.
So if you're trying to be someone else, your subconscious is going to fight that every single day because it's not in alignment with your identity. Now, your identity can upgrade, but rather than try and work against that just now, see how you can use it. Like, this is another thing is a lot of people think, well, I can't go forward yet because I've still got a limiting belief. I'm like, let's use that limiting belief. So, for example, a client that just joined my accelerator space. Now, she already gets like 10 to 20K months, but she does outreach cold DMs. And she joined my world because she doesn't want to do that anymore. She wants it to be easy. She feels like she's hustling. And we started to develop a strategy together and she started to take action. And then I was like, you don't believe that you can get clients without your DM strategy. And we got to the core of it and she didn't. I was like, okay, cool. Let's add back in your DM strategy, just less. And she's like, but won't that like confuse things? Won't that like go against me? And I was like, no, because your limiting belief is you can't get clients unless you do that. So let's still do that while adding in the attraction marketing, while adding in this new way of getting clients, because then your subconscious mind can get on board. So again, it's easy to come into people's world. I have it. I'm like, don't put me on a pedestal. Don't try and run your business like me because it won't work. Where you use like another example, one of my clients is like me. I am outwardly, like, I thrive on outward validation. I don't need it, but I thrive on it. Meaning, if I see payments rolling in, like hundreds of payments rolling in, it gets me excited and I can sell more because I'm like, this is a bag, this is exciting. Understanding that if I'm ever in like a slump or a dip, I will absolutely bring like a low cost offer, put on a bonus, throw it out there, and see all those payments coming in. And that'll give me my energy and spark back up instantly. So I'm like, do we want to always need to rely on outward validation? No, but rather than letting it work against you, use it while you're still healing. Like, hey, like I'm still a recovering people pleaser. That is still in me. So rather than always fight against that, knowing this is going to be a lifelong journey of mine, I'll use it. I'll use it to my advantage. Like, you don't have to wait till you're another person or a different version of you. You get to make money as the version of you are right now, but you have to own all of what you currently bring to the table and sell from that place because your audience wants you. They don't want a carbon copy of someone else.
I completely agree. And I think the comparison side of this and how we position ourselves, but also how we look at other people is just so, so important. You know, I can take it back to my own experience in my sort of first year of business. And I looked up to my mentor at the time. She was incredible, massive inspiration to me. But in my mind, I think I was always trying to be another version of her. And it massively held me back because although she was, you know, multi seven figure business coach, it didn't do me any favors because our characters and personalities are so different. I'm very much that classic British, you know, people know who I am and my style and all of those things. And then when it came to my messaging and how I was speaking, how I was telling people, telling my story, it just wasn't aligning and it didn't feel good to me. So I can completely understand what you're saying there in terms of your subconscious and ultimately how we're presenting ourselves or representing ourselves out there. You know, it can have or play a massive impact in terms of our success, which is fascinating. And I also think it kind of attaches itself as well to the self-doubt side of things. You know, so many of us allow, like you said, those limiting beliefs and this self-doubt to kind of creep in, especially if we're not seeing the validation or we're not seeing sales coming in quickly. Is there any advice that you can give around that side of things when it comes to self-belief, and maybe if people aren't getting, you know, clients signing up or payments coming through as soon as they launch things, because it doesn't always happen for everyone?
Yeah, I would always make sure you're building whatever you're building on a foundation of feeling good in yourself first. Like when I started in this industry, we had like I had everything that we could ever want when we had what most people would class as nothing. Like, so if you can be happy with nothing, everything else is extra. And it's also taking on this belief and this knowing, and it's a decision because we just it's society that tells us we're not good enough unless we have X, Y, and Z. But when you actually come back to the reality of it, it's looking at like what actually makes you happy. Like if I ask people, how would it feel if $1 million dropped into your bank account tomorrow? Right, if $1 million dropped into your bank, like how excited would you feel? How amazing would that feel? Like create that feeling in your body now, and they get into that, like if that actually happened, what can I do with it? And it's like the best feeling in the world. And it's like, okay, that can happen, but you have to trade your life for it. You won't be there. Would you do that? Absolutely no. So
Mhm.
the facts are your life right now is worth more than $1 million tomorrow. So why are you not acting like that? Why are you putting money on this pedestal? And sometimes it's just that perspective shift of coming back to, I've already got everything that I need and really feeling that. And it comes back to gratitude. And I know it's such like one of these things that's thrown about, but when you actually come back to you are enough, you've got enough exactly as you are, and everything else is extra, then it can come or go. Then it becomes a game. Then it becomes it's you play. Like for me, business isn't a typical business. Business is like a game. It's like chess, and you just move different pieces. And every like you have to risk. That's your pawns. You're going to risk yourself. You're going to risk your energy, your time, your capacity, your finances at times. Sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose. And I think when people realize that like failure is part of winning, a lot of people see it's like failure is one way and success is the other, but it's not. Failure is on the way to success. So when you realize that, then the days when no payments come in don't mean anything because that is just a day closer to it becoming the days when payments roll in every single day. And I think that we're in this realm right now of expectation. And I think that people are starting to realize and come back to not no longer waiting for that instant gratification and actually spending time at family, getting outdoors, getting a new perspective on things. And I think when we come to that, then it's it's realizing as well that it's up to you. At the end of the day, it's up to you. If I can give someone the best strategies in the world, the best energetic shifts and activations, work on the best mindset with them. And if they're more committed to it not working than it working, it won't work. Like there's no amount of coaching and mentoring that I can do that will make it happen for someone. But also the worst coach and mentor in the world cannot stop someone that has decided that they're going to win. And we see this again and again and again happen. So I've always had the belief, like I always win. Always. Like I just always win. And when I don't, I'm like, well. And when I do, I'm like, okay, that actually happens. Like, who knew? And my husband's like, Hayley, you did. You literally said that this would happen. I'm like, I know, but it's happened now. Like, so it's always coming back to, I always say, like, can you be in expectation of it's absolutely already done? Because anything we can come up with in our mind in the metaphysical world, we can bring into the physical world, while also having zero expectation because that's when you're in deep gratitude. It's like, can you hold that duality that contradicts itself, but it's still that's what you need is holding that duality of I've decided, so it is going to happen. But also when it happens, you're like, I'm so grateful. Like what? And then like imagine this actually gets to happen. And I think when you come back to that, there's no way you don't succeed. It's just the amount of time that it takes. And everybody's timeline is going to be different.
It really is as well, isn't it? Because like you said, we're all on our own unique journeys. We're, learning as we go. We're all growing. We're at different stages and just trusting the process, I think, as well, isn't it? Trusting that it can absolutely happen. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And, I know you support your clients with all aspects, the strategy, the energy, and the mindset. But it really is a combination of all of those things as well, isn't it? To really trust the process and lean in and go for it as well. What I say to my clients, and my whole business is called Actually I Can, with that self-belief piece that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. But I
Yeah.
think it is, isn't it? It's again about recognizing that all of us are individuals and we have to stay in our lane. And, sometimes I say block out the noise, ignore what other people are doing. I always say if you can't see it as inspiration, block it out.
Yeah, 100, or use it as a springboard. Like I'll say to my clients, like either block it out, or if you're that frustrated and you're that annoyed and you're that resentment, use it as a you.
Yeah.
Like I have created such big success at moments when I'm like, no, like I am better than that person. And then I've had a word with myself, okay, Hayley, if you actually think you bring more to your clients than that person does, then go do something about it. Because it's now on you. Either you have to cut it out if it's not actually good for you, or again, use it. It's like using the limiting beliefs. Use it to then go like, no, like I will not let this happen. I am not going to let someone else get results that I know I'm capable of. And I think it's just understanding like what type of person are you, or also what season are you in. Like sometimes I'm more like nurturing myself, and other times I'm like, right, Hayley, get a grip, like put your head up, get a notepad out, decide what's the next move, and then go follow through. And like when you learn to be the best, I call it like mothering. It's like the way that we mother our children. Sometimes, and we're really in tune with our kids. Sometimes we're like, oh, they just need a cuddle. They just need to be held. They need to be seen. They need to be comforted. And then usually after you've done that, then you're like, well, right, come on, kids. What are you going to do about it now? Right, you've been upset about that. We spoke about it. What's your next move? And it's like when you can learn to speak to yourself like that and understand, like, when do you need love? When do you need grace? When do you need to slow down? And when are you just being a little bit entitled and you need to get out of your own way and just go do the thing? And when you get in tune with that, and again, it just comes to getting curious, what do I need right now? And being honest with yourself, is it the kick up the ass, or is it the love and pull back and do a little bit less?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners today who are ready to go all in with their business this year and to become in demand through their business so that people choose to work with them, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, I think it would be to, again, I know it comes back to this, just make the decision, but make it at a core level. I always say it's as easy and as it's as hard as just deciding. But if you want to become in demand, if you want to sell out, if you want to make unrealistic amounts of money, when you're listening to this, like don't go and think about this, don't go journal on this, like decide in this moment, because our life is created and changed and achieved in split second moments. It's not when we achieve the thing. Like if you make a decision now, then at the end of this year, you end up making like multi-six, seven figures. It was right now that the quantum leap started.
Yeah.
Because we don't know we're in a quantum leap until after it happens. So it's like you have to decide and you have to make that decision every single day, even when the evidence isn't there, even on the days you don't feel like it, even on the days you're stuck in comparison, even on the days where you're winning and you're like, well, I can just coast now. I've made like a one high cash month. I don't have to do anything now. Like, it's like, no, until you've got it embodied, until that becomes your normality and your reality, it's waking up and it's deciding. Because affirmation, I don't really do journaling or affirmations anymore because it's just a part of like who I am. But before, my affirmation, the first one of the day, every single day, was always, I choose to be happy and love myself today. Because it's a choice, right?
Yes.
People think like the happiest people just wake up happy because their life is perfect, and it's not. It's because they decide to choose. We've got a choice in everything, and there's never any right or wrong. It's just looking at, well, like for example, say you're in a bit of a funk just now with business, you could choose to hustle and make it happen, and it could give you the best results. You could choose to hustle and make it happen, and you could get nothing, and you're going to be even more burnt out, and you've hustled and for nothing. And you could choose to lean back and trust the process, and like everything could flow to you. And you could choose to lean back and trust the process, and nothing happens because you're doing nothing for it. So it's like there's you don't know what's going to happen. So just make the choice that aligns with, like at the end of the day, you'll be sitting with yourself. Are you okay knowing that you've done enough in that day? And sometimes enough looks like switching everything off and having a Netflix binge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it looks like getting out there, getting online, making yourself known, posting in all the places, applying for things, putting yourself in spaces. And there's neither right or wrong. It's just, again, getting curious around what do you need right now? And at the end of the day, what are you going to regret the most?
Honestly. Brilliant. Thank you so, so much, Hayley, for coming on, for sharing with our listeners so much incredible advice around the mindset, the energy, the strategy, how to be in demand. And, just again, just reminding ourselves of why we're here, what we're doing, and truly trusting the process, believing in ourselves. I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast. I've got one final question for you. And I ask all of my listeners this. If you don't have one, don't worry. What is your one word of the year and why?
Okay, so can I use two? So one is mine's, and then one is like my invitation that I would have for everybody. So my word of the year this year is domination.
Oh, I like
Like
that.
I am just like, no, there is no. I've had a really good couple of years where I've managed to coast on success. And when I say coast, I don't like our numbers have went up, our income, our clients, all of that. We're not coasting on like the results, but I've been really like coasting in a lot of areas where I kind of have been able to sit back and just enjoy it. And that's great, but I'm ready for more now. I'm ready for like the next thing. So I'm like, no, it's domination. Every single thing we do, we're only going into it if we're prepared to dominate in that field. So we're not willing to make a move as a business unless we're ready, coming back to like being the one and in demand, unless we're ready to actually be that in that place. And that's informing all of our business decisions just now. And then the invitation for everybody would be undeniable.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like how can you become, like again, it's the in demand, it's the one, how can you become so undeniable in your niche and in your industry that everybody knows who you are and everybody wants to pay to be in your world?
I love this. Thank you so much. Honestly, Hayley, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have obviously got everything in the show notes, so please do go and connect with Hayley. But Hayley, can you just identify to people on the podcast who are listening, where can they find you and connect with you?
Yeah, Instagram is always the best place. So I'm at the Sigma Femme, and it's always I'm on Facebook, and you'll see me around there. I've got the website and all the other places, but Instagram is always where I am hanging out, and it's always me in the DMs. That's something we've tried to outsource it at points. I outsourced it to one person actually, and a day later she's like, "Hayley, I'll do anything else, but I am not doing your DMs." She's like, "How do you deal with that?" It is wild over there, but it is me. So come and say hi. If anybody's listened to this, if anybody's got any questions or they've resonated, like I'd love to hear where they've came from as well and hear their take on the conversation that we've had today.
Amazing. So absolutely go and give Hayley a follow, go and connect with her over on Instagram. And absolutely, I can vouch for that. She's incredible, and it is her that you speak to on the other end of the DMs. And she's incredible at what she does. She really is a massive inspiration. Thank you so much, darling, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yay, thank you.
And thanks to everyone that's tuned into today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And I'll see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur Podcast with me, your host, Hayley Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream six-figure or multi-six-figure business, then head to our website now for more information or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.